Welcome to another edition of Great Health, Abundant Happiness, and Outrageous Love. Mwah. Karen and I were just having an interesting, we think it's an interesting conversation.
I thought it was.
Yeah. So wanted to share this with you. I guess we're asking you, can you fall in and out of enlightenment? We've done a video on this before. It's like, how far do you want to be on the scale? This side is full-blown ego. This is all the way to enlightenment. And we've kind of pointed this out before, and you've been very clear about this. You don't want to be completely enlightened. You want to
definitely don't.
You want to spend time with your kids and helping them get through this life and all the other stuff that we've got going on.
Well, and being a part of that, and we've talked about full enlightenment, full awakening, is that you're so enlightened you don't need or want or desire to really be with anyone else or do anything. You're really sort of that, person in solitude.
Yeah, when you say you don't do anything, you don't do anything like tasks, daily tasks.
Right.
Interacting with people.
Exactly.
And
you just don't need that.
I was just in a post going back and forth. I think, look, I'm interested in your opinion, but I think you're able to fall in and out of enlightenment. So I think it's a great space to be in where you can kind of step outside of your body, step outside of this life that we have here, and be able to look at it from above and maybe plan out your vision and where you're going and be very grateful for all that we have and all the experiences. So I think that enlightenment, when you get to that level and you can really appreciate everything, I think is really important. You don't have to stay there all the time, because I think once you fully do engage, when you and I engage together, or we engage with the kids, or something to do with work, just maybe socially with other people, I think you basically come out of enlightenment for a bit, because you're in a role where you're having a discussion where, I don't know if it's impossible, but I'm going to say it's tough not to have the ego involved somehow.
I agree.
Right? I mean, it's there. Right. So once you get into this life and the day-to-day tactics, activities, interaction, you fall out of enlightenment a bit, right? I think that's part of the gig. I mean, that's why we're here.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to clarify that there's a huge difference between enlightenment and spirituality. So these conversations that Jeffrey and I have, and we have them often, and a lot of times first thing in the morning when we're just so full of new thoughts, we'll have these very deep, in-depth spiritual conversations that might be about awakening or enlightenment, but spirituality is definitely not the same state of being or existence as enlightenment. Because in enlightenment, you don't have those kind of in-depth conversations with somebody, because those in-depth spiritual conversations have the existence of them are our beliefs about these spiritual depths. Whereas enlightenment, you've really released all of that.
Yeah, all those discussions, it's almost like it's meaningless.
Exactly.
Like, why would you care about that?
Which is why I don't want to be in that full state. But sometimes when we're meditating, I feel like I can definitely get to a full state of enlightenment. I can remember a specific time we were at someone's wedding, and it was 3 a.m, and I got up and I took this bath, and I had this feeling, and I told you about it. It was so hard to explain, but it was a euphoria of just existing. And I think for me, that's the closest to full enlightenment that I've ever been. And, if I can ever get back to that state again, and I cannot tell you the euphoria of it, but at the same point in time, I'm very clear in that I understand that that was just my own existence, and it didn't involve anyone else's, and therefore I don't want to remain in that state too long, because I really enjoy, I guess it's that part of the ego, but that still is at a high vibration where joy and happiness and love, and being able to flow love onto those people that I really care about.
Yeah, well, I think if you believe we all come from the source, or come from the universe, we're all connected. We're down here in this temporary life. We're unlimited beings in this temporary life, this existence. We're here for a reason, to experience this life. So I think that's part of it. So I think going to full enlightenment is, I guess, in a sense, going back to from which we came.
Right.
And I can only imagine it's a state where you're all as one with everything, and you don't feel the pain. Like we're just out skiing today. It was a pretty cold day, chilled coming back down. You don't feel that chill of the cold. You don't feel the heat of this fire. I think we're here to experience all of this, and you actually have to come out of enlightenment to experience this life, which is that's the interesting point, which I think that's the clarity I'm having with this, and just kind of sharing this. I want to get your thoughts on this as well, but I believe that's the case.
And I wonder, you and I didn't really talk about this in depth, but I brought it up, and so I'm going to bring it up again. But I wonder if Jason is Jeffrey's brother, my brother-in-law, who passed away in 2012, and he definitely lived life to the fullest. He wanted to experience as much as he could while he was here, and his zest for experiencing life, whether it was a travel or another culture or a food or whatever, was so pronounced, and he was always so happy and joyful about these experiences, and as soon as he had one, he had another. So I feel like in his short life he packed in so much more experience in a short time than some people maybe do in a lifetime. And I can't help but wonder if he knew that his time to experience on earth was limited, and that the enlightenment portion, which is our soul that stays with us once we leave this earth. And Jeffrey and I do believe that the body leaves, but the soul remains in existence somewhere, right? And maybe even comes back again in another body in a year or 100 years or 1,000 years, or whatever. So I can't help but wonder if some people experience life fuller because they understand something different that we haven't figured out yet.
I don't know.
It's kind of an interesting thought. I'd love to hear your thought on that, or if you have a friend or a loved one, and maybe their time with us on earth was shorter than expected, but they really lived, and I mean just lived the experiences of life. I'd love to hear about that as well, because I think that there's some cohesiveness there.
Yeah, and the question is, do you feel that you can fall in and out of enlightenment? I mean, that's the question of the day, right?
Wishing you great health, abundant happiness, and outrageous love from the Nest at Copper Mountain.
Thanks, guys. Subscribe if you haven't. Love to hear your comments.